Hello, divine, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Energy Speaks YouTube channel. So, I want to bring up a topic today that's going to allow me to kind of go in different directions. That's kind of like the perfect word to use, honestly. A belief in a new world. So, we are embarking on a journey together. On a new journey that we don't know necessarily where we're going. We've maybe heard the term Age of Aquarius. I actually want to bring this up. I didn't know exactly what I was be saying today, but I had an idea. So something I'd like to present lightly in regards to this whole new world we're walking into is in different cultures and beliefs. We have different terms. And me being from the Jewish faith and belief system, I'm still very open-minded as I've explored many different religions and belief systems. And it's fascinating to see how they all connect. And so actually, I want to grab a board really quickly because this is going to help me explain a little bit what I mean. Let's see. Where? Oh. Let's go on, David. Okay. I'm going to erase this real quick. And I want to do a little bit of teaching here. Navigating, really. Okay. There we go. I got to get thicker markers. But here we go. Let me make sure. Can't really see that. Great. Okay. So, we've heard the term Age of Aquarius. Can you guys see that? Okay. So, Age of Aquarius, let's break it down for a moment. So, we have different, ages. And depending on, who you follow or how you tracked this, I've heard it in several different ways, but ultimately we are where we're at. We're walking into this age. We're talking about a 2,000-year period, okay? Now, this 2,000-year period, what was prior to that? So we are now just going into this, right? Now, previously, we had the age of Pisces. So, you know how when you look at the time and how it went backwards and then it went forwards, the current era and the before the current era, I do apologize. I did not know there was going to be mowing in front of my window at this exact moment in time. So I'm trying to be patient. So the age of Pisces, had symbols. We're having symbols here with the Age of Aquarius. Prior to that, I'm going to take you through this model because it's going to make more sense through this particular model. Before that, we had the Age of Aries. And then before that, the Age of Taurus. Did I do that right? Yeah, no. Yeah, I did. Okay. And then the Age of Gemini. That's as far back as I'm going to go, guys, for right now. So, okay, we're going there today. All right. If anyone follows astrology, this is a really good teaching moment. Okay, so in the Age of Pisces, we've cultivated a certain way to essentially break down astrology, and that has to do with the house system. And that house system gives us explanations of where, like, what's going on in someone's chart. Now, what's interesting is I told you guys that these ages have different symbolisms. So we know that Gemini is all about twin energies. Okay? It's about short journeys, different things like that. But the key here is twins. So I'm going to write twins here. In the Age of Taurus, it was like the bull, right? And cultivation and working the land, those kind of things. So I'm going to put farming and bulls. I'll explain in a little bit. Then in the Age of Aries, we had concepts around leadership. We had rams. And we had this kind of like fiery kind of energy. It's fiery, and it's also childlike as well, because there's this element of the child within this age, and learning to navigate. So I'll put child. The Age of Pisces brought in the concept of faith, fish, sacrifice, compassion. As you can tell, because we're coming out of it, we're closer to this energy, and also what is hidden. Age of Aquarius, very, very different energy. It is based out of technology. So I'll put tech, community, great changes, like radical changes for the collective, like to build up the collective rather than just the individual themselves. Though there is uniquenesses, there's the honoring those individual traits within the community, but being able to change things in a way that everyone feels comfortable and, well, I shouldn't say comfortable. Everyone feels seen And that comes with a level, with all these changes going from one age to another, a large sense of uncomfortability, going into new waters we've never explored before. So I'll put radical changes. Now, all of these are way different worlds. Now, from a Jewish perspective, I'm going to paint this out a little bit, and then I'm going to go into merging some titles together. I will do a separate class, or talk, I should say, in regards to breaking down these ages. This is what's being guided right now. So, but that class is that discussion is going to be epic. I'm going to let you know that, because I learned a lot within this kind of thing. It's absolutely incredible to see things from a birth chart perspective, and how the wheel of astrology actually shifts and changes over the timeline. So we had during Gemini, so how do I want to do this? Okay, we're going to start with Taurus. Taurus was all about cultivating the land, and it was more around the time of Abraham, Father Abraham, which brings in 3 different belief systems through his lineage, which is Judaism, Christianity, but we don't see it yet. It's a seed being planted, hence the age of Taurus. Seeds are being planted. This is the energy of manifestation. Okay, and then Islam. So prior to that, the reason I wanted to start with Taurus, in regards to Abraham, is because you could get a taste of what was prior to. And it talks about this theme of 2 Egypts in the book of Bereshit, or Genesis, which is quite fascinating. And that gives us an indication of almost like this kind of rising energy, like what just came before, of like what was going on, and maybe how were things very different, like different worlds. It's because Abraham was on that cusp of the age of Gemini and the age of Taurus. What we saw during that time is lots of sacrifices in regards to bulls. And we see that in the symbolism, right? Now, where do things shift and change? You also you see Egypt really shift and change. Because, for instance, you had his descendants. He had a son named Isaac. Abraham had a son named Isaac. And Isaac had a son named Yaakov, or Jacob. And Jacob had 12 tribes, 12 sons and a daughter. And so one of those 12 sons was Joseph. And Joseph actually went to Egypt. And that's how the storyline ends up shifting and changing and going into another age. Now, we can see that over the years, this idea of Egypt shifts and changes because of the fact of like new leadership within Egypt. The Pharaoh is shifted and changed, and it becomes a place, rather than a place of honoring the Jews, because Joseph was actually one of the like top people in Egypt during that time when his brothers, um, essentially wanted to get rid of them, wanted to get rid of him, and when that happens, he ends up, being recognized by the pharaoh as being a seer. He could read dreams. He could see futuristic things, and he could warn the pharaoh of certain things coming. So it became a really good relationship between Joseph and his descendants. The Israelite nation, essentially, well, part of it, and the Egyptians. And so then you see this decline and shift in that when we come down to the age of Aries. Now, the age of Aries, the person who indicates that is Moses. Now, Moses really is this great leader on behalf of the Jewish people. He's feels a little bit childlike in a way too, because he doesn't know really how to lead. His wife, who is not like an Israelite, she was a Cushite. Her father, Jethro, was who we think now as being the Druze. Okay, he was a priest in the Druze faith. No one knows really what that means unless you're a Druze or part of the. I don't know how to say it singularly and plurally. So when that happened, he learned from Yitro how to be a leader. And mind you, he was not a young leader. He was very old at this time. And he meets his brothers, or his brother and his sister, Miriam and Aaron and Miriam. And, prior to that, he was given up as a baby. And there's a key right there: baby, child, that kind of thing. He was part of the Egyptian nation because he was the adopted son of the pharaoh. And there's so many different commentaries on this, but we're not going to go too far. But I wanted to bring in the baby aspect, right? But then after, we also see this display of anger that Moses has, that is actually followed through the entirety of his story. And anger can be another relationship in regards to Aries. We see that especially when he is upset when he sees one of his Israelite people, because he knew he was part of the Jewish people. I should say Israelite people. And he did not want this person, this being beaten. If you excuse me for one moment, I need to put my plug in because apparently this is going longer than I thought and my battery is not working at its fullest capacity. So, that being said, you see this anger going through Moshe, and what happens is we also see this appear again when he's leading the people. And there's another instance which actually keeps him out of being literally in the land of Israel. And what is that? It is when he strikes the rock. And so you can see that display of anger there. So again, that was the age of Aries. Age of Pisces is where we start to see things shift into like there's no more like, okay, so this is going to have to do with the Torah for a moment because I'm tracking it in this way. Now, I would love if anyone else knows from a different perspective how I'm receiving these different symbols, because this is what I'm familiar with, you know, from the Jewish perspective. If you guys have, I don't know, ancient Sumerian or Akkadian or whatever, you know, these different symbols being tracked in those ways, I'd like to hear about it because I love this stuff. So again, we had the Torah that was given to us, you know, like almost like Hashem's like, here, children, this is what you need to follow because you need some type of order in order for you to like thrive. And so we have, you know, we have the actual 10 commandments. We do have you know, the Torah, but it was called the spoken Torah. So the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, right? But not everything was written down. There was parts of it that was passed down orally through tradition from one Kohen to the next, Lador Vador, from one generation to the next, okay? Now, when this happens, you know, we get to a point where we're going next is in the age of Pisces, where the oral Torah is now beginning to be written down, which is called the Mishnah. And that's where we receive like both the Mishnah and the Talmud. So again, I want to be very clear on this, that we see, imagine these ages not very concrete energies, but more fluid. When you're moving to one, you're exiting another, but it starts to slowly dissipate, okay? So there might be some of this, like the Mishnah, that is part of the age of Aries, that we're slowly tiptoeing into the age of Pisces. Do you see what I mean? Because it's not always clear cut, because it's energy, and it doesn't work like these numbers of 2,000 exact years. We have to be able to transition. So these transition energies, and because we're talking about a 2,000-year period, it's going to be a larger, it could be a few hundred years that takes us in and out of a new age. So, but we see this indicated through like what's going on. Now, let's talk about Jesus, because he didn't exist until the age of Pisces. So that age he's talking about, that, you know, the way his lingo is very Piscean. And so you see, you know, this kind of transition through his lens of you have like Moses part of the age of Aries, but Jesus is and the rabbis are the different indicators of something new, because you see it split off, right? Now, then what you can see now is we see a lot of metaphysical talk, okay? Of seeing even the teachings of the rabbis Jesus, Moses, Abraham, you know, and then I also did not really go into this at all, Age of Gemini. I would say that would be more of like Adam, and Chava, or Eve. That time frame, but again, time was very weird at that moment, like at those times. So like it's not so clear cut. But you can see like a lot of interesting things happen. And we also get the story of Lilith out of there. So, and then we also, another indication of this kind of thought processes, there's this, a story, especially throughout the Talmud and the Zohar, of Adam being both male and female, having wholeness of both genders. That's another indicator of Gemini. But so right now we're going into this age of Aquarius that is very, very different. It's very metaphysical, and we're looking at all of the information that we had prior to in a completely different way, to actually not divide, but to merge. Because Aquarius likes to be in community. It's in charge of friends and communities and building things up into the wholeness. Now, I'm going to erase all these other ones, and I want to just talk about the age of Aquarius. And because we talked about all the different ages and things we've had before, I want to bring in some other lingo that maybe we never thought about as part of the age of Aquarius. So we've heard of the time, or the returning. I'll do it from the Jewish first. Okay. Age of Mashiach. Let's do that. Age of Mashiach. I don't know how to spell. I think I do, but Age of Mashiach, from a Jewish perspective, is a concept of a leader, a great leader, leading and uniting us to be connected with our Creator. Okay? So that is the age of Mashiach. From the Christian perspective, there's this returning of the Messiah, Jesus. Now, I want to break that down for a moment, because we've also heard the term from a metaphysical standpoint. I'm going to put meta as Christ's consciousness. Now, this is interesting, okay? So this kind of takes us back in regards to history, and I'm going to sum up soon. But Christ, you know, from the Greek, that's a Greek thought process there, you know, because it was from Christos, which originally we think of Messiah was actually Mashiach, okay? And what does that actually mean? Anointed. What does anointed mean? Well, let's take a look at how anointed was played out. Kings were anointed. Priests I'm talking more Jewish priests, but I'm sure that happens in the Catholic Church and other ones and stuff like that. I'm not really sure, but I'm not Catholic, so but I'm sure that probably is a thing. But someone of great leadership that in leadership from a faith perspective as well, okay? So really, when we take a look at all of these, we're really saying the same thing, okay? It is like, and what it, let's bring it all together. What is this anointed person or people supposed to do? Bring wholeness, shalom, or shalem. Wholeness is through the word shalem. Okay? And so that's what we're doing here in the Age of Aquarius. All right? We're heading on a different journey of collective consciousness. That's another word, collective consciousness. Because we want to be more deeply connected to everything and everyone. So when we think about like who's right, who's wrong, it's not about who's right, who's wrong. It's about how can we truly see each other, be friends with one another, and help each other thrive. That's what it's about. And part of that process, I want to get back to the topic of belief, is belief in a new world. We have to believe that it's possible. So we just talked about a lot about Aquarius, which, by the way, I'm doing the Zodiac Energy Empowerment series, going and walking us through the different Zodiac energies and how each person can connect to these different energies because they're all within us. It's a very Aquarian idea. And for Aquarius class, we have an in-person class in Clearwater, Florida. And I'll add that link in here, and that's going to be with Kristen Gieslin, and we're going to be talking about these type of things. And also, we're going to be exploring how we can improve ourselves. And she has a beautiful method called Beism. Now, I'm going to walk us back one more to Sagittarius, and I'm going to erase all of this real quick because it really, we've gone through setting the sacred space for the transformation with Scorpio. We've gone through leading with our heart with Leo, connecting with our soul and our feelings with Cancer. There's so much more to this. Check out my other videos. And now we're moving into Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is all about belief. And I like to think about it as, you know, the movie Aladdin, a whole new world. That's the type of energy we want to tap into for Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about journeys. It's all about things that take us on the road through culture and expansion. And it's the storyteller. And it likes to talk about spirituality sometimes and faith and different perspectives on all of that. It's the philosopher. So how I wanted to best really harness this energy with Sagittarius is actually looking at the tarot. So we're having class next week, Monday and Thursday. First class is going to be all about intro to tarot. And approach the idea of the different archetypes, what is tarot, why was it created, and I know Rootz is probably going to talk about the creation from not a Jewish perspective, but I can give that, which is totally fine, because that is the whole point. There's different stories and different ways we can connect, and like you just have to explore what feels right for you, right? But so essentially, this idea of tarot has a major arcana and a minor arcana. The minor arcana are more set up like you're playing cards, and then the major arcana is actually more about archetypes. And so, not that there's not any archetypes within the other, but this is more like focused on the Fool's journey, because the 0 card in the tarot is the Fool and him walking on his journey. And we kind of look through the lens of like what Joseph Campbell was doing. And Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey. So we're going to be talking about things like that. And then also, that's only one aspect of tarot. Your other aspect is your intuition. And then the other would be the spread you use, because you need to be able to read the cards in a frame, essentially, through this model. And so we're going to have an intro to that on Monday. I believe it starts at, I'm not even going to say look at the link, please, because I don't want to give misinformation. And then our next class is taking that and building on it on Thursday and going a little bit deeper on how you can read your own cards. So we're not going to be reading cards on the first class. The second class we will. But please come out, because the model that we are working with, like the framework, the actual layout, Rootz has been doing this since he was 13 years old, and I'm not going to give his age out, but he's been working with it for over 20 years. And so he is an expert in his field of tarot, and he is going to be taking us through what he's learned on his journey in regards to setting up how to read the cards. So he's going to teach us his model, and that's going to be super powerful. All right. I want you guys to think about today how you can connect with the Sagittarius energy belief. What in your life is no longer serving you? Stories, okay? Specifically, what story is not serving you? And how can you shift and change it? And this is the perfect time to rewrite those stories, because we're in a Mercury retrograde, and that is magic. I am going to be the Mercury retrograde guy that is an advocate for this energy, because it's all about doing the work and not focusing on external things like computers and things, even though they're tools and help us. We're the technology, and we're connecting with our creator. So if there's something that's no longer serving you, this is the time to really harness that energy and take it with you outside of the concept of Mercury retrograde. So I love you all, divine, beautiful souls. And that is today's message. And it's bye for now, and I'll see you later.